As you've no doubt seen through the last 43 episodes, we often don't get things right the first time, or the second time. That's easy to understand because I have no real background or experience in this kind of thing. I come up with some loopy idea and Matt either says, okay, I can make that work, or he comes up with a better idea. Like taking the entire drivetrain and electrics from a modern car and putting them into a last century classic. That's totally new to me, but Matt said, sure, let's have a go. So we did. But I did make one large, irreversible mistake that I now regret. I've said it many times, but I started with the wrong car. I really should have spent more and started with a 928 in better condition that didn't need so many original Porsche bits replaced to be roadworthy. Something maybe with a blown V8, but good paint, good body and good trim. But I didn't want to start with a good car, like my own petrol 928s. No, I had an altruistic motive, and that was to save a car that was only going to be scrapped. But in retrospect, dumb idea. This one, having languished by the seaside for 20 years without moving, it's got no bushes in it. Everything in this old 928 was perished or corroded or just worn out. So who knows how many zillion kilometres it had covered in the 20 years before that. It would have been a lot. So brakes to suspension rubbers to things you wouldn't expect. Like a tiny steering column bearing that's totally worn out and will cost me $300 tomorrow. If this was a Camry, it'd be $30. Anyway, what's done is done. Now, our approach to problem solving has been try and make it actually work, make it safe,
lock her up,
make it likely to be able to be registered, then finally make it pretty and try not to spend too much money in the process.
That's good. Like it's like a rubber band?
Yeah.
Like off the line? I feel like it went quicker before.
Consequently, right now, what I have is something more like a science experiment than a car. But we are getting there. It does drive, it works, kind of, and it will get better. Right now, we're at peak messy, but we're heading to tidy up mode. And I think a lot of the fun stuff is yet to come. And you know what they say, the journey is just as important as the destination. But the goal has not changed, to make an electric car that, to all intents and purposes, looks like a Porsche 928, or a 928 if you have to, and still has the attributes that make a 928 so nice. Brisk enough performance at road legal speeds, lightweight so it corners and brakes just as well as a stock one, cheap to run and to maintain, reliable, and yes, the V8 rumble.
Floor it. There's maximum torque.
I do want that, the cherry on the cake. Not yet, that's coming at the end, you'll see. And at the same time losing a lot of the attributes that are the reason you don't ever see one of these cars on the road anymore. Now right now, as I said, I think we're at peak messy. A lot of things are working but need tidying up, so don't despair, gentle viewer. We will get there, and one day it'll look like a car, not a science experiment. And when you see me driving it around, everywhere, make sure you say hi, and come for a ride. I gave it a clean, sort of. It was getting disgusting. Today's problem, we've got noise. You may have noticed when we drove it last time, there was a grinding noise from the back. It sounded like the drive shafts or CVs, but it didn't happen in reverse. Brilliant plan. Let's swap the drive shafts left to right and see if the problem persists. If not, it'll be new drive shafts. Maybe it's something else. Who knows? All right, so here they are. It's normal to have a bit of float like that. In fact, that's good, but what you don't want is up-down motion. And there's a little bit on that side. Yeah, it feels like there's more play there than there should be. I'm trying to think what might have caused the problems we're facing. I thought maybe it's because we've turned this whole motor, round about. It's almost upside down. Maybe something's not getting lubricated properly, but surely that'll be a problem in reverse as well as forwards. The problem's really only manifesting when we're going forwards. And that sort of says that the races inside these CB joints here, or the outer one, might not be very good. Also, these control arm bushes are completely stuffed, so we'll need to do something about that. Just the rubber bushes from Porsche, $400. If you bought every Porsche bit you needed for this car, then you could just go out and buy a really nice 928 GTS. And the other thing is our brilliantly located power steering pump that we put here. We've managed to isolate the noise so it doesn't really go up into the cabin there, but it travels nicely along the tunnel here, reflects off this, and goes straight up into the cabin there. So I think we need to have some sort of sealant I've got to mount these a bit better anyway, but I think we might need some sort of, packet full of expandable foam or something. Who knows?
So that doesn't have a circle on it either.
No.
You see that there? There's like little pounding marks. Whether someone's belted that with a hammer to get that on, but it's stuff like that which, you know, who knows when it's in torque, is it coming forward, is it like that? When it reverses, it has that natural. I don't think this CV design is like a helical cut gear in a gearbox where it wants to push a shaft sideways. I don't think. No,
I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I don't know.
And also there's quite a lot of gap there from that,
yeah,
from this face in. I really doubt it's.
I try to cut that in really deep to allow for all that that inner cage to.
If only Nav was here, he'd know the answer to this.
That's it.
Oh, hi Nav.
See that mark there should be lined up with those. So it went ding, ding, ding. So this wasn't put back where it was meant to be, but
that's because I did it when I was under the car at the top when I was fitting this thing.
Look, you feel that it's quite smooth. There's no balking, you know.
Okay. There's another mystery. It's got an ABS type shaft. Don't let this fool you into thinking it's an 80, a later one. It's not. It's an 83, but it's got later drive shafts.
Oh, but this one doesn't. This one's got no turning.
How interesting. We got one ABS style shaft and one. Why is that not a surprise with this car?
Yeah.
What you found?
So on this passenger side, there's some. If you look closely, there's a witness marks. 6 of them.
Oh,
there's a good one there. Like that's actually.
That's it.
And there, so.
It is actually touching.
It is actually touching. I only machine it with a 3-jaw chuck, so it's not my chuck. So the balls on this side. So it's got to be 6. So that's unequal. So it could be these balls here. Because it's right on this inner flange, so I'd say we've got to machine a chamfer. See how that's actually got a chamfer on it? See there? I'd say we've got to put a chamfer on this as well.
Or a spacer plate.
Or a spacer plate, yeah. You see how that's contoured?
Yeah.
Around there?
Yeah.
Where I've not done that? I'd say that's where I've messed up.
I'll tell you what we can do. We can move this to the other side. We can move this to here.
Yep, we could do that, because if you look there, when that sort of comes down, I've followed that inner diameter there.
Yep.
And that's our touching.
Yeah.
That's it. And
so changing shafts left to right is not going to fix that.
I don't think so, but on this one, it looks like it hasn't. I'd say that'll be it. That rumbling noise.
Can you just relieve this? I mean, that's what you're suggesting, just chamfering this a little bit?
Yeah, we could we could even just put it in gear and just hold the grinder there and just linish it, you know?
That'd be fun.
Just watch your eyes.
Yeah.
So give it a light throttle there. It seems good, like it's always a bit strange on the hoist, you know, no load.
Yeah, you can do this. Righto, good to go. That is super quiet.
Yeah.
Now, turn the turbines on if you need some power steering.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
It's so much better.
Is it?
It's smooth as.
Okay.
It's just like reverse.
You were talking about witness marks the other day, and I was a bit sceptical, thinking,
yeah, and how was that?
And
it's
you
witness
did,
marks.
Sure enough,
yeah,
6 little ball bearing marks.
I guess anything grinding is what something worn or bashing together, and I guess even though the shaft was free, but the CV was cocked, and it needed just that bit of relief.
And tell me where the sound's coming from. Seems to be coming from the front, doesn't it? Or underneath.
Yeah, it does.
It's coming from underneath.
Yeah.
Turn off the turbines.
Handbrake's off.
Handbrake's off.
It's quiet.
It's better.
In reverse, I suppose you can go forward here, then go backwards. And
Okay. The brakes are coming good now too.
yep, good.
A bit narrow. That's good, eh?
Yeah, they're pretty much the same now.
You're a legend.
At least we found the noise, and it's just a simple fix. Grinder, you know, like anything.
As you always said, grinders can fix anything.
That's it.
3 weeks later.
So the poor old electric 928's been a bit neglected, and I apologise that I haven't given you any updates for a while. So here it is here, the 928 looking fantastic. Just a minute. That's a Renault 4. Yeah, as I said, Matt's as bad as I am, he collects cars. I mean, apart from the usual collection of Renaults needing a little bit of care and attention, he's bought himself this, Renault 4. And why wouldn't you? This is fantastic. Do you want to know how a real door closes on a real car? Listen to this. And look at that. Sturdy. What a fantastic project that's going to be. But it's also a distraction from my car, so no. And look, there's another one. Damn it. But let's get to the real star of the show. Hooray, here it is. Resplendent. Looking pretty good, eh? Drivable. Now we need the engineer to come around and check it out. As you can see, we've got it on charge. There's my sports chrono on the dash, which is now working. But what we need to do now is make it a little bit tidier before the engineer comes out. It's very noisy. Driving around, you probably heard last time, a lot of road noise coming through, suspension clunks and rattles, and that horrible power steering whine. Anyway, let's throw a whole bunch of carpets in and then see if that makes it a bit quieter. Door trims as well. You wouldn't believe how much difference it makes just putting the door trims in. And then we'll get it engineered, and then all that trim and stuff will have to come out again so we can paint it. That's the big episode coming up. Strip and paint. Turbines to speed, reactor. I'm going to change these, it's just temporary. They look ugly. We'll fix that. In case you're wondering what this thing is, this was the MG bonnet badge. And maybe you can see it's pulsing at the moment. The LEDs are on because we're charging. Okay, let's get this out. This is how this works. Alright, look, it's not as pretty as it could be, but it works. Here we have our little Hall effect sensor, and I've just glued magnets around my little ring. It's a bit ugly, it's not originally as I designed it, but it seems to work. One lesson I've learned is you should never assume, even if you're really pretty certain about things, always check. The little sensor that I fitted here, little Chinese thing, cost about $6. 3 leads coming out of it, red, black and blue. Now which would you assume are the positive and the negative? Well, the red was the positive, but the black wasn't the negative. The blue was the negative, and the black was the signal. That's just so inherently wrong to me, it just threw me for a while. But even though there was no documentation with it, we figured it out. Never assume. Thankfully, the engineering and wiring documentation for the MG has been the best thing about this car. It's been really well documented. Honestly, if I didn't have the service manuals that came with this car, the wiring diagram, the connectors diagram, there's no chance I could have done this. So, thank you, MG. If the engineer gives it a tick, the biggest jobs, of course, are going to be stripping off this horrible, bubbly old paint. Not nice, is it? I reckon this car's going to be 10 kilos lighter by the time we get all this off. Look. Look, here's something we've seen about a year ago in earlier episodes, but it just bears repeating. If you think all my wiring over here is a mess, well, you're right, it is. But the original 928 wiring is worth looking at as well. This is standard fitment from the factory in Zuffenhausen. And look back here. Check that out. That was all hand wired by someone, lovingly, with great care and attention. Probably wearing cotton gloves. Even these fuses that hide back here, these are standard fitment. I can't remember what they're for. I think they're part of the cruise control system. No, Stu, you're wrong. They're part of the central locking system, hidden away way over here. As is this computer, which we need to retain. because without this, the taillights don't work. I have no idea why. Anyway, that's staying. But it doesn't belong here. That's not where it lives. I think it's from under the dash. Somebody's remounted it there because it's preventing this thing from going back against its frame. So it should be somewhere else, probably under there. Maybe the same person that cut into all this wiring to put in an aftermarket alarm, which they all needed back in the 1980s. You couldn't insure one of these cars unless you fitted a second aftermarket alarm, even though they had a perfectly good immobiliser, standard fitment. So somebody's come in here, chopped into the fuel circuit, the ignition circuit, the starter circuit, put in tremblers and motion detectors and ultrasonics, which were a very new thing at the time. Poor old Hugh Buchanan, who works with these cars all the time, has spent his life removing these aftermarket alarm systems that just don't work. After 20 years, they're all failing, shutting the cars down for no reason, and so he'd go in and remove all this shit and restore them back to standard. So what I'm saying is, let this be a cautionary lesson as why you don't want to work on the electrical system of an old 928. These cars were so incredibly complicated for their day, and they were virtually handmade. You know, they're all different. So what have I got to do? I've got to move this out of the way because it's preventing that from closing. Remount that, put the flooring on, stash all this MG stuff under there. So many of these systems I'm not actually using, like I'm not actually using this aircon, but I need the computer in it, or the car won't start because it thinks it's going to use it to cool the battery, which it's not. We've got part of the central locking system buried under there, right in the centre of the car. That is important. That's the crash module. If it detects the vehicle's been in any sort of accident, it's going to shut off all the high voltage stuff, disconnect the battery relays. Very important. So it's nice and firmly mounted where it belongs. But look, yeah, I know it's a mess, isn't it? Retro mode. Bet you're wondering what that does. You'll find out in a future episode. Well, we can't finish the episode without having a little drive. And I just want you to hear it's a bit quieter. I've done quite a bit of work on the soundproofing, putting just some of the carpets back just to see if it'll quieten it down a bit. The car's actually driving. We have working speedometer, odometer. It's a bit quieter. The ride's good. I've set the shocks a little bit softer and they're actually pretty good. It's fairly pointy, turns. So there we are, folks. We have a car that steers. It's reasonably quiet, although not as quiet as it should be. That's it, that's the end. Bye. Hey, thanks for watching the video, and you made it all the way to the end. You rock. Now, whether it's petrol or electric, there's a lot of Porsche content on the channel, and there's going to be a lot more. So maybe you'd like to subscribe. You might also enjoy all the other non-Porsche content we've already got. Heaps of car reviews. Electric, classic, sports, exotic. There's a bucket load there. See you next time.